I'm sorry, the biggest YouTubers slash streamers are the goofiest, lamest looking dudes I've seen. They all look like they fell out of a Dr. Seuss book and got bullied in band class in by the woodwind section. Wait. Got bullied in band class in by the woodwind section. Girls on Twitch are less paid, less respected, and less watched. On average, yes, but never mind. We'll get into this. If a moderately attractive Destiny said if a moderately attractive girl had to live life as an average man, I think they'd kill themselves in like 2 weeks tops from lack of attention. Okay.
At this point, as if it has anything to do with.
Okay. We'll go listen to Shark3oZero's video.
After all that, I looked at it, and everyone linked me to this video, specifically to this video, which is I owe Trainwrecks an apology, finally blackpilled. Apparently, I was called out in here at some point in time, so I think we could we can look at it. Apparently, I'm in here or something. Give us a content warning before you show us League. I don't think he plays League. Yeah, thankfully through the video he doesn't play League, which is good. All right, I'm sorry. So no content warning, but you will look at League. Okay, I'm sorry about that. Please forgive. This is my first cancellation. Yeah, I know, right? Here, let's just take a look. I just wanted to take a look. I just want to see what's going on. Of course, I'm sorry.
Hello again, Destiny, and boy, do I have quite the super long schizo email for you today. I hope you read this one because I circle jerk you a lot in this one, but I also throw some shade at Tabor and Melina, so hopefully that doesn't rub you in the wrong direction too much. No matter how
you throw shade at wait, who's Tabor? Do we know who Tabor is? I know Melina is his wife. Who's Tabor?
How many Spurgs attack you
Tabor's like an NFL player that's in his community.
With a recent discourse. Stay strong, Kane. You're the only one who is not a woman-hating incel, but still says the things that need to be said to properly critique society. It's extremely important to have someone like that. Otherwise, the only places people will flock to are the red pill anti-women communities or the complete, utter drooling, delusional lefty communities that have their heads in the sand over this issue.
Yes, finally, the true enlightened centrist. The true enlightened centrist, he's here. Most normal D. No, okay, listen. I do think a lot. I'm seeing it recently, which is really good, that a lot of the left is starting to care more about men's issues and tackle them in a much better way. I'm very happy about that, because when I got into the space, men's issues were a big thing for me. And I want to see more of it. It's just unfortunate. You got to break through a lot of stuff, but you know, it just kind of be that way.
He links my tweet about the OnlyFans girls or whatever. This Twitter interaction is what I'm talking.
Why you block his face? Because I'm not moving my damn camera for this 18-minute video. Nobody cares. You know what he looks like, right? Wait, can I get a show of hands? Does everybody know what Destiny looks like? Do we all know what Destiny looks like? I'm pretty sure we all know what he's not gonna do anything. I don't think he's gonna whip out his dick and start like goddamn helicoptering his way up to the goddamn ceiling. All right, I think he'll be okay. I don't think anything crazy is gonna happen. He's just sitting there like he always does.
This meme is very real.
Yeah, I think we'll be okay.
Talking about the Shark3oZero retard. He's using one of the stupidest copy pasted.
What the fuck? What'd he call me? I can't believe this. I've been slurred. No. Shark3oZero. Wait, what'd he call me?
This Twitter interaction is what I'm talking about. The Shark3oZero retard.
He calls me Shark3oZero. He even forgets the middle of my name. Come on, man.
I've always called him Shark3oZero too. I thought he was freaking Shark3oZero. I thought that was his name. I watched the first like 2-3 minutes of this. Well, I guess we're at the 3-minute mark now, so maybe this is where I stopped. But yeah, I always thought he was Shark3oZero, but he's Shark3oZero apparently.
And he just calls me Shark3oZero. What the heck? Everybody does this.
Or is it Shark30?
I still blame Dylan for this. All right, it's Dylan's fault. Dylan, if you watch this is your fault. Okay, Dylan's the first person that I remember with a bigger platform to ever call me Shark3oZero. It's him. And you know what? It's my fault too for not. Well, I tried to. I didn't like straight up like directly correct him, but when I said my name, I didn't leave out the 3-0. Like, come on. What the heck? He misgendered me. What the fuck, dude? I can't catch a break in here, man. It's easier. Just call me Shark. Just call me Shark. Shark3oZero. My goodness. Everybody knows who you're talking about. Who else is named Shark in this space? Who else?
If you just said shark, I wouldn't think of him. If you just said shark, I would have absolutely no clue who you're talking about. If you're like, oh, shark said this thing, be like, I don't know who that is. I'm sorry. You would have, even if you like kept going, you're like, oh, he's like like one of the bigger black creators in the Twitch politics space. And he wears the glasses, and I'm sorry, I don't know who you're talking about. Like, I would, if you said shark, I would never think of him. But if you're like Shark3oZero, I'm like, oh yeah, Shark3oZero. Yeah, I know who that is.
What's his name? Shark. Who is it? I call you Shark3oZero too. You people hate me. You guys hate me. I should just give up freaking streaming. I'm not gonna lie to you. I should just give up at this point. Just like there's nothing left for me here. It's just all I get is abuse. All I get is abuse. I call you Shork. Now that's someone who loves. Anyways,
But he's using one of the stupidest copy-pasted dialogue tree talking points.
one of the stupidest copy-paste dialogue tree talking points.
It is a stupid thing. Okay, so it is true when you look at this. When we're looking at like people on Twitch, most of the people who like who get big are people who have like honed a skill or like have knowledge of something, or they're able to they're able to like build a community around something, or like it takes some sort of like effort and time to do that thing. But when we're talking about not all women streamers are titty streamers or hot tub streamers, but when we're talking about those women, they're able to build a community by existing. They're able to get big and build their audiences just by being there and looking the way that they happen to look. Now, it probably takes a lot of work as well. Like when we're talking about the amount of like makeup and stuff that they have to put on, in like buying clothes and crap like that. Like, sure, that takes work though. Yeah, sure. Like, but we're talking about the differences of like years or lifetimes of work versus like 30 minutes of work, right? They interact with their audience. Yeah, literally everybody interacts with their audience, right? Like that's not like, it's like saying like, yeah, but they have a camera. Like, cool. That's awesome, but that's nothing special. So yeah, so like they're able to build audiences by looking good. This isn't like a problem. They're not doing anything wrong by doing this. But when we look at systems that negatively or disproportionately affect certain groups in a negative way, like we do with women a lot, right? We'll see that like women have trouble getting into certain fields, into certain professional fields, and we'll say, hey, these we need to like do something to fix this, to make this like more available to women through the systems that we currently have. And it's with a lot of things. And so we try to fix the systems when we see inequity there. But when it comes to the fact that like women can get big through these sorts of means, there's not like a simple solution to that. And there's also even trouble for a lot of people to even admit that that's a thing. So like you can already see Sass freaking out in the chat because this is something that she just refuses to admit to herself, because I guess like, I don't know why, but like this is just an obvious fact of life. Like women have a power imbalance when it comes to their attractiveness that men don't have. Are there lots of other things that men have power imbalances in? Yeah, there's tons, dude. There's tons. But like just acknowledging one power imbalance that exists for women, all of a sudden people are like, no, you can't do that. We're only allowed to hate on men. We're only allowed to point out problems with men. Don't point out problems with women ever. You're not allowed to do it. It's like, it's super stupid. It's super obnoxious. They hate to have these conversations because it's not that simple. No, duh, it's not that simple. You guys are the ones who oversimplify it, okay? And honestly, whether or not it's simple doesn't matter when you refuse to even acknowledge that the thing exists in the first place, okay? Whether or not it's simple does not play a factor in this when you just refuse to even acknowledge that this is a thing, right? Like, I I get to be objectified, giant W. Are you purposefully like trying to be like, are you like, hey, I'm going to prove that like I'm just a liar and a bad faith person and I want everybody to see me this way. So I'm going to do the same thing that the other guy was doing in the comments just a minute ago that we were going over. Like, you're like, let me just reinterpret everything in the worst way possible because that'll be so much easier to argue against than what Tom is actually saying here. Let me do that instead. Let me just like create this fake argument for me to argue against because Tom's real arguments are way too monstrous and vicious that I could never even dream of arguing against those. And it's probably because you're a woman that you don't have the capability of arguing against my amazing arguments. I have the big man superior brain. You have the tiny little woman brain. And this is the way that biology works. So
I'm sorry, one of the biggest YouTuber streamers are the goofiest, lamest looking dudes I've ever seen. They all look like they fell out of a Dr. Seuss book and got bullied in band class by the woodwind section. Girls on Twitch are less paid, less respected, and less watched. Now, here's the thing, all right? Here's the thing. I do still consider this a banger tweet. The only reason why I wouldn't tweet this again, okay? I wouldn't tweet this again. And the reason for why I wouldn't tweet this again is because it's mean. It's just mean. It's just too mean. I don't typically like being very mean on Twitter. And after I tweeted this, I did feel bad. You know, I feel like when I meet on Twitter, I get a little bit of like, you know, post-nut clarity, you know what I mean? And so it does feel bad a little bit, you know? And so I you know, it's just a little mean. You have permission to harm them? Yeah, but I'm not even really talking about him. I have no clue what this guy looks like. I'm just talking about like the bigger streamers. You know what I mean? That's like it. This tweet isn't like about him specifically. This is like a frag grenade, right? And you know what? And when you throw frag grenades, even though you may hit some of the people who you know you want to hit, you'll hit people that you don't want to. There's collateral damage. And I think I did collateral damage with this tweet, which was kind of mean. And so I'm not going to like retract it. I will say I wouldn't tweet this again. And we can talk about this for like 1 second in a way that's like less, you know, less harmful. The main point, and I said it like afterwards, since someone said something about it. The main point is that a lot of these types of people will go out and like be like, these freaking women get all.
this is bullcrap right here, and this is what I hate. Is when somebody's like, oh, well, I had to make a really bad argument. Because these guys normally will come out with these other takes. So I have to lie, I have to say stupid things, I have to give these retarded takes, because if I don't, they're going to go off and say this other stuff. It's so dumb. It is such a bad argument. Or like, well, you know, because normally if somebody says that, then they're gonna say this. It's like, but they didn't say that. So like, wait for them to say that, because now you're just making up something that didn't happen. So wait for them to say that. And then when they say that, then we can have a conversation about, you know, what it is that you respond with. But to start arguing against stuff that nobody ever said, again, this is straw manning. You are just like making up a boogeyman to argue against because you don't actually have real arguments against the thing that actually is being said, but you don't like the thing that is being said. So you have to make up an argument against it.
All of this and that, and they wouldn't understand what it'd be like. They couldn't spend a day in like average looking guy's like point of view. Like, bro, for like a second, okay? like dating isn't like that easy for women. It's really not. Right? And maybe not attention period is the problem, but like the right type of attention like is like sure you can get a lot of attention, right? You could be bullied every single day. And while like a quiet kid who nobody would talk to got less attention than you, it's not the type of attention that you want. You can get bullied every day. I'm not sure, we may have some people in here who've been bullied like every day or something along those lines, but yeah, you could get bullied every day. That shit sucks. And I know for like some people who've experienced something like that, they may if they had a choice to like switch their life around, I think some of a decent chunk of them would prefer for no one to speak to them, period, rather than get like ruthlessly bullied all day.
Tom, what do you think about when position X seems to entail Y, though? Is it okay to accuse them of believing Y? I've been a bit stuck on this one. So normally, like, if we're talking about things like dog whistling um, or making arguments that have like an implicit statement that's not actually being said, then I would say either one, you need to ask, well, what do you mean by this? Or ask like, further questions, right? Um, Like there are times when I'll go onto a panel and I'll be like, yeah, I'm pro-life. And somebody will respond with like, oh, so you freaking hate women? You want to control our bodies? You want to make sure that you're allowed to tell us what we can and can't do with our reproductive systems? You're trying to make it illegal for me to have an abortion? Is that what you're doing? Or they'll be like, oh, but like, are you against like making it legal or illegal? And I'm like, yeah, like I think like it should be illegal, but I don't advocate for it to be illegal because I think that would actually cause a lot of harm right off the rip. So like I don't advocate to make it illegal, right? If they ask me the freaking question, then like, yeah, it like we can actually have a productive conversation. Or they can make themselves look like a freaking idiot and go off about all of this other stupid stuff. And then when they get done, me be like, yeah, I don't believe any of that though. So now you look stupid. Like it's better to ask the question. Now, if it's somebody like Jordan Peterson, when they're on the screen and they're making an argument and it seems like they're saying something, but you can't tell if they're saying that thing. You can't ask them, hey, is this what you mean? Or is this what you're saying? There's not you don't have the ability to ask them that thing. Then normally before you actually have an accusation, I think you have to have more information. I think you have to have a lot more evidence. So like if I look at somebody like Mio, I like him just saying things about elites over and over and sometimes he was talking about Jewish people. Like I didn't have enough evidence to say that this guy was anti-Semitic or something like that. I had absolutely no ability to do that. But over time, the more and more he started making jokes about Jews, the more and more that he started saying things about Israel, the more and more that he started talking about bankers and greedy Jews and stuff like that. Well, now I had a lot more information to say, oh yeah, like when he talks about the elites, he's talking about Jewish people. He's talking about some evil cabal that's trying to control the world. Like that's what he's talking about. I have to get that information first though, before I can actually believe that that's what's being implied. Without that, I can only speculate, but I don't even feel comfortable speculating on things like that a lot of the time. I want people to actually say the thing. And that's, yeah. So that's how I would handle that sort of thing. I think it's hard. And I think that leftists are guilty of this more than anybody, where like they hear somebody say something sus and now they want to go after them and call them a Nazi and call them all sorts of other things. And that happens to me quite often, is where I'll say something that's kind of vague and then all of a sudden I got a million people coming after me for some bullcrap that I didn't say, but they felt it was implied. Like this is it's a problem. So I think that like just because what it is you're saying commonly goes along with a narrative, sometimes the person who's saying it doesn't even know that goes along with some other narrative, right? Somebody might bring up the fact that, like, yeah, well, black people actually are only 13% of the United States, but they commit 50% of the of the violent crimes. I can immediately be like, oh, he's a Nazi. He's a Nazi. He freaking did it. He said the thing. Like, sometimes maybe they're just actually making a statement about something, and you need to dig a little bit deeper to find out whether or not this is part of a narrative or if they're just simply making a statement. Tom is a radical centrist. I'm on the far center. Yeah, thank you for the clarification. I agree, but it is a fuzzy area in my mind. Tom is the king of vague posting. Only according to you, Sass. Only according to you. Nobody else thinks I'm vague. Just you. You are by yourself on this one. Nobody else is complaining about me being vague. Nobody else is up in my tweets like, what do you mean by this? Just you. You're by yourself every time.
I will tell you that. And so, like, I do know probably there are some girls out there who you know, like, they sip up that drama, they sip up that attention, mind you. My bad. That's what I meant to say. They sip up that attention, and they get a lot of it, but it comes with a lot of negative attention as well. And a lot of your average women don't get like that much attention.
No, so this is true. Again, like, we're only talking about a small percentage of people. When we start complaining that, like, most CEOs are men, right? Well, not all men are CEOs, right? Like, so we can't, like, start acting like all men are CEOs. And honestly, being a CEO comes with a lot of negatives as well. This is a lot of freaking responsibility. You got a lot of people to worry about. Everything that ever happens is blamed on you. You were the one who has to like you're the guy at the top. The world is on your shoulders, right? Mo money, mo problems. Like, there's all sorts of other things that come with this, to where we can't just say, like, oh, well, he's a CEO, so everything's all good and gravy for him all the time. Like, obviously not, but nobody ever talks about that part of it, because we're only talking about the specific parts that are good. We're only talking about the parts that create the power imbalance in the first place. And this is going to be the same if we're talking about some titty streamers or something like that. We're only talking about the parts that are beneficial. Obviously, there are positives and negatives that come with everything, and we can all acknowledge this. But to just focus on, like, oh, but you guys don't actually realize there's a negative to this. It's not helpful whatsoever. You're just getting weirdly defensive about something and adding in a whole lot of information that's not even relevant.
A lot of it comes down to the sort of like friend groups that you're in. For me personally, especially when I got younger, I was in a friend group when we were perfectly fine with complimenting each other. You know what I mean? You know? I mean, we were like almost naked like a couple of times together. That's just your boys. I peed in the same toilet. I didn't look at his dick. I tried not to. But you know, you just spend time with your boys. So we weren't uncomfortable complimenting each other. But a lot of guys don't experience that. I do feel real. That, like, 100%. It's just that and I guess, like, what I meant to say better was in a tweet I made following up this, which is basically these types of guys.
Yes, my CEO example isn't bad. It's actually a super analogous example. The problem is that you are so biased that you're not actually willing to recognize what it is that I'm saying. Enjoy.
Will, like, rally and freaking start throwing shit, woo, you know, going crazy when you talk about things like pretty privilege and people being treated better because they look better and getting things for free. And the more money you have, the more free things are offered to you. And, like, the attention that people who like look real. Better get, right? They'll be more than happy to talk about this type of stuff. But the second you bring up the fact that they skip 3 showers in a row and haven't washed their hair, in like 4 weeks, you know, it's just, once you start bringing stuff up like that, they start, like, you know, vomiting and they start, like, throwing up and crying.
This meme is very
real. You know what I mean? It's just that
he must have just gotten raided or something, because that's a lot of new followers in a short amount of time.
a lot of these types of dudes don't even try to put any work into how they look. That on top of the fact that in this community, women just don't do that well. They just don't. Like female streamers, they just don't do that well. They just don't. Yeah, men are not throwing themselves at me because I'm a girl. Yeah, this happens a lot.
Yes. Okay. So again, we can talk about the fact that a lot of women streamers don't do very well on average. And that's very true. And then when we look at like the top, I think it's like the top 5, what is it? I think it's the top 10% only has, or is it the top 10? I can't remember, but there's like a top like 50 streamers list that only has like 10 women on it. And that's true. And so like women are disproportionately disadvantaged in this way. And we talk about this sort of stuff all the time. But as soon as we mention the other part of this where we're like, yeah, but if you look at like, you're just talking about a small select group of people when you're only looking at the top 50 streamers. Look at excuse me. Oof, I got hiccups. Look at everybody else. And that's like the by far the majority of everybody, but you're like, hey, let's look at this tiny little group of people because this is what helps me make my point right here. Not everybody else, because everybody else is obviously having a very different experience from that small group of people.
This happens a lot. Maybe on like a broad strokes, women get more attention. They get a lot of negative attention, too. But it's just like, women just don't do that well. In the top 50 streamers, we looked at it. In the top 50 streamers on this platform, 2 are women. 2, and that's Pokimane at number 9.
Again, so this isn't relevant. We're talking about disproportionalities. So if we're looking at like the top 50, sure, like we can see that like there's a small amount of women in there, but there's also way less women streamers, like way less. There's a very small amount of women streamers. And if we extended this all the way out to like everybody, we could probably see that women streamers on average are going to do better early on in their streaming careers, and that they're going to grow faster, and they may never make it into the top 50%. But if on average they're doing better than lots of these other people, then like that's all that matters. Nobody cares about the top freaking 50 streamers. That's not helpful. It's only helpful to make your point. And why is that, Tom? Seth, stop trying to change the subject. Stop doing your whataboutisms, okay? Stop doing your, but what about women? Stop doing that. This is embarrassing. Stop doing it. Stop. We're not doing this patriarchy freaking bullcrap right now, okay? We're talking about the other side of things. And this is exactly what this schizo email is talking about. The fact that just people mentioning these things makes women like you start to freak out. You won't even allow the conversation to take place in the at all, because it immediately, you nonce? What? Everyone knows boys like boobas. So smart. All right. If you want to keep making up fake arguments, go ahead. Enjoy that.
And then Amaranth at number like 35 or something. All right. There are just 2 women in the top 50 streamers. All right. If it was the case, if like the attention economy was so, and the top 100 only has 3, man, they're really, baby. These women are truly destroying. They're tearing up this community. And I would hazard to guess like more than 2% of Twitch's audience is men. Now it may not be like 50% or 30% or 20%. If I was to guess, I would say around like 10%, maybe like, yeah, probably around like 10%, like average are women. Maybe it may be different. I just don't know. Once again, there are other communities on Twitch other than gaming, but gaming is obviously the biggest community. But like they just don't do that well.
Very real.
If you go to like your average female streamer, she's like not gonna have that many viewers. She's just not, and looks aren't gonna take her that far. And when they do, you have to keep doing it. You have to keep leaning into it. You have to keep leaning.
That's not true. That's just not true. I have never seen a good-looking female streamer with a small amount of people in her audience. I've never seen it. I've never seen like a good looking streamer with less than a couple hundred people in their audience. Like the only one who had the good looking streamer that has the smallest audience that I know of is Bad Bunny. And that's because she's just a horrible, wretched person. Like, she is a despicable human being to where even her looks won't help her past that. But uh, looks matter for streamers in general, I think. They do to a point, yes. So, like, even for guys, like, being good looking is definitely helpful. But you're not going, like, a guy's not going to make his entire career off of being good looking normally. There's normally like a lot more that comes with that. So like Amaranth is actually like a really smart person, right? Amaranth is actually like a very bright woman. And if you go like you look at her Twitter, or you look at her some of her like interviews on other channels, she's actually like a really smart person, and I enjoy listening to the stuff that she has to say. But that's not her stream. She doesn't talk about that stuff on stream. She's not like doing well because people are interested in her brain or the things that she has to say or her personality. It's because of the stuff that she shows. And this isn't a thing for men. Like, this isn't like a thing that guys are able to exploit or gain anything from. And it's not only that, but it's the fact that like a lot of women actually play into the exploitation and start saying things like, it's so sad I don't have a boyfriend. I wish I had like a rich boyfriend who played video games and watched Twitch all day. Do you guys, is there anybody who's like really rich out there? Like, how about this? Somebody donate me a bunch of subs and we'll see if there's somebody like that. If you're like that in my audience, let me know, and just donate a bunch of subs real quick so we can find out if you actually exist, right? Like, the playing into it part is something that a lot of people would consider like wrong. I don't actually think like it's probably exploitation in some way, but I don't think it's that big of a problem. More so, we're talking about the fact that like this is a thing that exists, or an option that exists for women that doesn't really exist for men. Like, this is something that men can do, or sorry, that women can do that men just generally can't do. And women will be able, like, guys have to be like, even video game players, if you're playing video games, you got to be really good at playing video games in order to move up, in order to gain a viewership. And it's the same with like politics. Like, you got to be really good at debating, or you got to be, really good at all sorts of things. But for women, lots of times they don't have to be nearly as good. Sometimes they can suck at video games, but they're really good looking. They're cute, and they have a cute personality, and so they use that to like gain a viewership. What did I miss? Sass is freaking out. She needs an EpiPen.
Into those looks, it's kind of like it's kind of like you taking like supplements for your hair. Like, imagine that, right? You're taking supplements to make your hair grow. Like, you can take the supplements and everything, and sure, your hair may grow faster than other people, but the second you stop taking those supplements, let's say you get sick, right? And the supplements that you take start to mesh poorly with the medicine that you have, so you have to stop taking that medicine. Guess what? Your hair is gonna fucking fall out. It's just gonna start falling out.
Sass, I literally said generally. Men can't do this. I literally said that. And you still came back with, well, some men can. That's not, I didn't say some men can't. I said generally, this isn't an option for men. That's what I made sure that I added the word freaking generally in there. And you still come back with some bull crap. Please listen to the words that I'm saying. Just listen to them, okay? I am saying real words. I promise. Listen to them. I am speaking English. I know that Canada has trouble with that language, but I am talking as slowly as possible right now so that even a woman brain from Canada can understand the words that I am saying, okay? So just take a breath. watch some other videos real quick, and then come back and let the sound waves travel into your ears, and maybe the brain will activate.
Once all the medicine, once all those supplements are out of your body, it's the same thing when it comes to this type of thing. You know, like you want to know one of like some of the meanest shit that I see. Okay, it's not people making fun of XQC's room, or people making fun of like Asmongold, or like Asmongold's room, or how much trash like these guys, like before they start stream, have to fucking like don their waders and start like walking like this, like they're in a fucking crowded swamp. Just to get to their streaming desk because of all the goddamn like DoorDash boxes and like takeaway bags and stuff that they have to get to their desk. All right, that's not the meanest stuff that I see, or even people making fun of like XQC's nose or something. Right, the meanest stuff that I see are people just like are the people like making fun of women in the way that they look, just literally sort of like high school level fucking bullying that they engage in. Like you can see anybody, you can bet like if someone posts a picture.
See, this is a whole lot of whataboutism. Like, they're not responding to any of the stuff that's actually being said. This is pure whataboutism, where somebody's like, hey, there's this thing that happens with women. And everybody else is like, yeah, but there's bad things that happen to women too. You don't even realize. You refuse to recognize this. Like, yes, that's all he's talking about. He's talking about the fact that there are other bad things that come with this. Everybody knows this. Nobody's denying that. That has absolutely nothing to do with what we're talking about. It has nothing to do with the video. Has nothing to do with the argument. Nobody said anything about this. Nobody was like, hey, women's lives are freaking perfect all the time and they never have problems. Nobody said this. This isn't a thing. This isn't a thing. He's not arguing against anybody here. He's not saying anything that somebody would disagree with. It's just not relevant. He's right. It's just not relevant. It doesn't have anything to do with this. This is just like, this is the same exact thing. This is the what about men thing. This is the, women talk about like, oh, well, there's these issues that women face and patriarchy and blah, blah, blah. And some guy comes over and says, well, oh yeah, well, men have those problems sometimes too. Everything's not easy for men all the time. Or we're talking about like systemic racism, and somebody's like, oh yeah, like black people are disproportionately disadvantaged in these ways. And somebody's going, well, white people are poor sometimes too. You don't think white people have problems? I live in a trailer. You think, oh my life is so perfect. Oh, all my white privilege got me a trailer. Oh, it's so great. Like, this is exactly what he's doing, where he's like, oh, but women, they have all of these other problems. Like, they think that things are easy for women, but like they have problems though. It's like we can recognize that there are some areas where women are advantaged without always going down like this list, like, yeah, but also, and then true, and then this other thing, and then like, this is so reductive and frustrating that people get so defensive that they can't even acknowledge the point that is being made without rambling off a list of bullcrap.
That picture that Pokimane took to tell girls that it, basically show like, I'm a human too. We all wear makeup and everything. Here's why I wear makeup all the time, but this is me. This is what I normally look like, right? This is how I look. This is just me as a person.
Sass, you're lying, okay? You're lying. You are a liar. Stop lying.
The person who posted that picture is probably some like horrible, nasty person trying to make her feel like a piece of shit because she has like slight acne and she's pale. Why do people hate Pokey again? A plethora of reasons. Biggest one is I think the biggest reason why people don't like Pokey is specifically because of like these sorts of ideas where it's like, oh, women can easily make it so far based on just their looks. So she does nothing, yet she gets all of this money. Fuck you, woman.
Oh,
yeah, it's basically fuck you, woman.
Is he gonna?
Is that's the main thrust. There are people who don't like her because of there was the whole like.
I thought he was actually gonna start like responding to the actual points. Oh, he came so close. He was actually on topic for like half a second.
Copyright strike drama that happened. But I think like the people who like make it their part of their identity to hate Pokemon, That's not that's not their issue. That I promise you that's not their issue. It's mostly fuck you woman, basically. That's the main reason, right? And that's unfortunate. I talk about these men's issues all the time. Like I say that I specialize in like men's issues, or that's the big thing that we talk about. I mean, I have like my antidote podcast and everything. I think we do a good job.
Does he ever get to the point? Does he ever start talking about the actual point here?
In that you just have to not lean on like one side or the other. When I've seen Destiny talk about men's issues in a very like coherent, reasonable and rational way. Just this sort of tweet, I just think it just goes overboard, and once again feeds into like these sorts of people, who's writing this. Like I can't.
It feeds into these sorts of people, and this is exactly what we were talking about when we went over the Samson video, where he's saying like, oh, but don't acknowledge that Jewish people are disproportionately in banking, because then you're just handing the entire argument over to the Nazis. It's like, no. You can't just deny truths because you're afraid that it'll actually give some sort of credence to the other side. Because if that's true, then you're wrong and the other side's right. Right? Like you can acknowledge that truth and say, but it's irrelevant because X, Y, and Z, right? You can go off on a million other things and explain why they have like this one fact right, but there's a bunch of other information that actually makes their conclusion incorrect. So like you can't be like, oh, don't acknowledge the truth, because then you're lending credence to the bad guys. This is such a horrible thing to say.
I can't believe you say that, and I'll say it again, dude. Like, I'm moderately attractive. Moderately attractive. You're on the attractive scale, but you're in the middle of the attractive scale, right? If you're on the attractive scale as a dude, I think you benefit more from your looks than someone like Pokimane does. Just net, right? Just like net. It's kind of like imagine if you were like an electrician, and Pokimane was like a fucking rocket scientist or something, okay? But Pokimane has like lifelong debt, but you don't, and it'd be that type of thing where she makes more money, sure, but her net worth would be less. And I would say that like a moderately attractive dude can gain more success off of specifically the girl who's playing Rainbow Six, and so was like 15-year-old boys or 53-year-old men throwing either their McDonald's paycheck or their box and forced to specialize in that specific box, right? And if they okay, excuse me, Mr. Shark3oZero, have you controlled for the bottom 99% of all streamers with 0 viewers? Shark, do you have a control group? No, but I do bet that the vast majority of streamers, for one, are white and two, are men, and the vast majority of streamers being anywhere near what we would call successful are for one, white and two, men. I do.
Yes, no, that's the point, is that by far the majority of streamers are men. So for you to just look at the top 50 and be like, oh, but there's not a lot of women in there. Yeah, there's not a lot of freaking women streamers. You have a very small pool to pull from. That's like, you can't just like use the top 50 as a good example when there's such a small amount of women streamers in the first place. It's not a good example. It's not a great example. So like, yes, the other like 90% of streamers are going to be like pretty different. If you're looking at things in proportionalities, which is how we do these sorts of things. That's how we look at these sorts of things. If you look at them in proportionalities, I have been around, there's not stats on this, so we can't look at stats, but it's like undeniable. You will not go find a woman streamer who is attractive, who is doing poorly. Like, it doesn't exist. You will not find all of the 2 and 3 view streamers on Twitch and YouTube right now. None of them will be attractive women. Not one. Okay? Even just moderately attractive women will get a bunch of viewers in there pretty quickly. But if you are arguing that women get so much attention, wouldn't there be more in the top 50? No, because that's such a small pool. You're only talking about the top 50. We're talking about proportionalities. No. OMG, what is the point in this conversation? That's what I'm aware that you have no clue what we're talking about. This is blatantly obvious. If people like attractive people, then stop arguing with me. This is the point. Is you acting like this is all ridiculous, and then later being like, yeah, obviously that's true, and then later, no, that's stupid, what about women, what about women, what about women, yeah, duh, everybody knows this is so stupid, like obviously, we'll be like, no, 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 that's not, no, it happens to women too, no. You've gone back and forth like 10 times just in the past couple minutes, okay? It is, yes, there are like, it's not just that it's not that people like attractive people. Because if we go look at the top 50 streamers, a lot of them are not attractive freaking people. You look at Dylan Burns, one of the most popular streamers in Twitch politics. Not a good looking dude. Destiny, I guess maybe, like, I suppose, like, especially when your pool is like Twitch politics, like it's a very like not good looking group of people. Like he's probably up, you know, he probably goes from like a 6 in the real world to like a 9 in Twitch politics. Then like XQC, like there's just like all of these like big streamers that are guys, a lot of them just aren't good looking, like especially in the real world, like these aren't good looking people. But every single one of the women are good. Well, not every single one, there are a lot of like unattractive women as well, but most of the women who are attractive are not like there's not some other skill in there that the men have, where they're like amazing video game players and they play on these teams and they win these championships and blah 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 blah. Those are not there. Like even the attractive ones, the big streamers, like most of them are not anywhere near the same like skill in a lot of the things that people are looking for on Twitch. That's the point. And so all we're doing is we're recognizing that there is an advantage that women have in this specific space, not in the whole world, not everywhere they go, not like they're not walking into freaking Walmart and everybody's just piling their hands up with a bunch of free stuff for them to walk out with. They're not driving around in brand new Lamborghinis because somebody thought they were hot and just handed it to them. No, that like we're talking about the fact that in this very specific place, in this very tiny spot on the world where a lot of us exist, on Twitch, there is an advantage if you are a good looking woman, and it is an advantage that will take you a lot farther than any other than it will for men if you're just good looking. Like just being good looking and sitting in front of a camera and just talking mindlessly, men cannot do that and gain a following from it. That's not an ability that men have in general, but women do. Even lots of women who aren't attractive will just go and sit in front of the camera and still gain a large audience. Let's see. So like CuteBot, great example.
I'm Maddie, and
Hot Babe just started on Twitch. It already has over 2,000 viewers, right? Like she's a funny chick. She does like dating shows and stuff like that, but like other guys have done the same exact things and just don't gain the same viewership. Here's a chick that's not even like all that attractive, but she wears like sexy, like very revealing clothing, a lot of skin, and she has 372 people watching her right now. And I've gone into her streams a bunch of times before where she literally doesn't even talk for long periods of time. She'll go 10, 15 minutes without saying a word. She just sits there, right?
And I'm just like, what? That's crazy. That was a stretch. You just did it. You missed it. You blinked. gonna guess Daniel Radcliffe just because I saw something about Harry Potter. I also saw something about Harry Potter today, on TikTok or something, but actually no, I don't think it's not my type. You're on crack. Go for pass it to Aztec because he wants some. Robert Downey Jr.
So yeah, I'm looking at the just chatting section. There's only 2 women in the top 10. Cupid is 6. Yes, again, there's a very small amount of women streamers. You have a very small pool to pick from. So it's not like an accurate way of checking just the top 10, because we're talking about disproportionalities. That's all we're talking about. It's disproportionalities. You're not going to be able to look at just the top 10 to understand a proportionality. Like if we wanted to say like, oh, black people are really poor in the United States, though, it'd be like, oh yeah, look at the top 10 rappers. Eight out of 10 black. So black people are actually really rich. It's like look at the top 10 NBA players. They're black. So black people are doing well in the United States. Like, no. It's not how this works. Zas, I've explained my point like 10 times, okay? I've explained it 10 times. I can't keep explaining it. I've already gone over it. I've already answered that question over and over and over and over. I literally, like when you said, but what is your point? I was literally explaining the point. You got some prescriptions in there? No. Nope. See, you are trying so hard to find a problem with this. Like, you are so insanely defensive that you are just doing your best to find some problem somewhere. Stop being so defensive. Just acknowledge it exists. Just acknowledge that this is a thing. That, like, it's not that hard. You are the crazy men who get pissed off that that feminism exists. Like, that is you. You are those crazy men. That is, just remember how dumb you thought they looked and like how crazy they were acting just to you know, continue their cognitive dissonance to avoid knowing what's actually going on in the real world. And that is you right now, where you are just so gung-ho about making sure that you do not acknowledge something that people are talking about. What is the point of just saying it's a thing? Add some more to it. Add some spice. I don't know. We're just like, it's the same with like systemic racism. Like a lot of the times when we're talking about whether or not systemic racism exists, like the most important thing is to get people to acknowledge that it exists. Everybody can come up with their own freaking prescriptions. Everybody can come up with their own solutions to these things. It's not necessary that we all have like a prescription or that we agree on it or anything like that. We're just talking about whether or not a problem exists. And lots of times, just acknowledging the problem exists is what fixes it. Like people just knowing that something like that they're participating in some sort of system can help them avoid certain actions in the future. Like that's kind of how this works. So just acknowledging that the problem exists and that it's out there, like that's all that people are doing. They're just trying to get people to stop being crazy and acknowledge that these things exist.
What's actually
all right, so we're like, Shark's obviously not gonna actually talk about the video or acknowledge any of the points.
These are all her real life friends, and that account is some things that
at university.
Oh,
right, and just say everything. Please come, do come.
Control for population members. Women wouldn't surprise me if women were outrunning men here too. And let's say even if we ignore Twitch, OnlyFans, Instagram, YouTube, Snapchat, Patreon, Twitter, etc., white women are favored in the 98% bracket, even if men have it easier.
What the, you don't, how do you say that? How do you just say that? He's just making up shit off the top of his head. He's just saying, oh yes, easily in the 98% bracket. It has to be white women. It has to be white women. And watch this guy not for a second. Yeah, source. Yeah, watch this guy not for a second say anything about white, right? And just say everything about women. Nothing about being white and everything's about being a woman. I bet you he has no introspection. I bet.
Well, no, and that is like the entire point is that like white women are even like it's not just women in general. For the most part, it is going to be white women. Like we just had it on the stream on like a Latina woman, so that's not a great example. But white women are going to do a lot better than like attractive black women because white women are considered like the standard of beauty. And so even they are going to do a lot better than everybody else. They're not just doing better than men, but they're doing better than all of the other races as well. And so like the advantages, the disproportionalities, like those are going to build up more and more when you start talking about more factors. So if you add in like, the fact that they're white, or the fact that they're like very feminine, or the fact that they're like in shape, or how they dress, whether or not they show a lot of skin, those sorts of things, like those are all going to play a part. And white women are going to have like a huge advantage over black women, over like Middle Eastern women, over I could say though, like I think that like Asian women actually are in the same bucket as white women, most likely. I think Asian women, yeah. I think Asian women are in the same bucket as white women because they're like up there like with it. They are part of the standard for beauty. So I think that like this exists for Asian women as well.
I bet he's just mad at white women, okay? I don't know, maybe some girl named goddamn Emma, Grace, Haley, Taylor, Shelby, Sam, okay? Sarah, one of these women, okay? One of these women that I just named, one of them broke his heart, and that's the reason why. That's the reason why. Lindsay, you're right, I'm sorry, my bad. Almost forgot about that. Who's named Shelby? Hannah. Sorry, forgot about that. Hannah as well. Who's named Shelby? I live in Kentucky, dude. We have Shelby, we have Mercedes, all right? We have Chevy. I've heard of Chevy, okay? Ford. I haven't heard of Ford, like first name. But no, people love naming their baby girls. Yeah, Grace, Brittany. Yeah, people love naming their baby girls after cars. They love naming their girls after cars down here. Yeah. I don't know. In Kentucky, yeah, Caitlin, Jessica. One of those girls broke his heart, and he will never recover. He will never recover. Poor baby. He needs a hug.
You're reaching the top 1 to 2%. And let's say we shift gears to the offline real world.
Okay.
God, this guy's hitting all my incel points. I love it. You can still see many of the same trends. In 2019, I used to be probably way more feminist than I'd like to admit. I probably would have gotten mad if anyone said you can be a woman and get an easy 50 to 100 viewers, but one major experience that opened my mind and probably begun the de-radicalization process was my final year in electrical engineering.
He's saying he was de-radicalized? All right. Hey, but how many women were in your electrical engineering class?
Sass needs to be de-radicalized. This is the video for you, Sass.
Also in electrical engineering. I can tell you how many women were in my electrical engineering class. 1. I was also in IT. I can tell you how many women were in my IT class. 2.
At university. I was taking the final class required to become an engineer, the most difficult class. It's extremely short, it only lasts 30 days, but you're given an extremely difficult design problem statement, and the professor nor any of the university faculty are allowed to help you. You aren't allowed to talk to any other students, and the problem is so complex that there's really no way you can Google or get help from third-party sources. Faculty can usually detect if people work together secretly, so students are careful there as well. Class was about 80% men, 20% women. It was probably the most difficult year of my life. I started taking medicine, and this particular university was even required to give a stress relief session every Thursday because a few years ago there was an incident where a student killed himself. So while I was pulling my hair over this shit, I noticed something in class. Out of the 20% women in class, nearly all of the white women were able to easily just literally walk up to any guy in the entire class and just start talking about the problem out of the blue and get very positive reciprocation from the guy, and I could literally hear/see.
Yeah, Sass is sitting there with her vagina hat on and her hairy armpits, burning all her bras.
How easy it was to get a group going for them and working on the design problem.
You're right. This is unironically his Joker backstory. This is true. This is his Joker backstory.
I really want to know, how can any lefty deny this? How can any lefty deny that this phenomenon just makes some of the most difficult challenges in life easier when you're attractive to any white woman? There was like one black woman in the class and one hijab-wearing Muslim girl, and maybe like 2 Indian girls, but I never saw the black woman or the Muslim girl ever talk to anyone. They just stayed in the corner of the entire class. How could any lefty possibly deny that in this situation I put forth, regardless of whether you think it's all a lie or not? How could you not deny that, assuming my story isn't a lie, that white girls don't have a significantly easier time going through this than the black girl? Well,
it's just I'm not gonna take these sort of I'm not gonna make these sort of societal prescriptions off of a weird this engineer eating beans and everyone clapped.
This game is very real.
Sort of like story from you, bud. That's just not gonna. Assuming my story is real, the sample size is something. Yeah, and like, wait, how do you know it's?
Wait, no, dude, you can't pretend that this problem doesn't actually exist. Nah, I'm done with this. This is bullcrap, dude. Yes, this is an anecdotal story. It doesn't actually add to his point very much. It just kind of like helps people, get an image of what it is that he's talking about. It's not like data to prove his point. I think we all acknowledge that like white women are generally like the standard for beauty, and that like most of the time when we're talking about beautiful women in America, like, yeah, white women are going to be that standard. Like, that's what we're thinking of. That's what it is that most people even like fetishize. Even like, there's conversations all the time about the fact that like Middle Eastern men or black men like make finding a white woman like in getting her pregnant their goal. Like, that's like the greatest thing that they can do. And that's like the thing that they want to go back to all of the boys and go back to their dad and be like, yes, I freaking nailed that white woman. Like, for him to like pretend like this doesn't exist is so stupid. I'm blown away at like how reductive he's getting to try to avoid this topic, to try to avoid this problem. I don't even have words for this. Like, this is so ridiculous. How hard people have to try to be wrong. Like, they have to try so hard to be wrong. It's so frustrating. It is so frustrating. Watching people who are more than capable of acknowledging a simple truth, sitting there doing everything they can, all of this mental gymnastics to avoid being right. Like, these are obvious social issues that people talk about on the left and on the right. And this is an easy agreement. This is something that we can easily come to. But because it came within a list of other things that he doesn't like, now he has to like try to find a way to disagree with this as well. When this is obviously true, women of other races are going to have a lot more trouble interacting socially than white women. This is just obviously true. We've talked about this a bunch on this channel. Like, we've had black women in the chat complaining about this sort of thing. This is obviously true. If for him to try to deny this is so ridiculous. It is so bad faith. It is so wrong. Yeah, and he said that. He says this.
Easier for, how do you know it's easier for them? What if they just didn't want to speak to people? What if the black girl and the Muslim girl didn't want to speak to people? What about the guys? Did they try to speak? Did you control for any of the men going up and speaking to anybody? Did you do that? Did any of the guys go up and speak to anybody? What about their friends? What about guys that they were like cordial with or something? What about that? What about guys that like had similar views to them? Right? Did they even try? Did they even like attempt? How do you know if it's just easier for them? And do you mean literally all or not all, or was it just some? How's he gonna get on my ass for like wanting to how's he gonna get on me?
So okay, so like a good rhetorical point is that like lots of times when you want to make a point to make it believable, you want to explain the point, then use data and an anecdotal experience. You want all three of those things. This helps you like understand the concept, then give information to back it up and say like, we have facts that show what it is that I'm talking about. And then you use an anecdotal experience to paint an image in their minds so that they can actually see how this applies to the real world. That's all this is. And he's like breaking it down like it's supposed to be like some proof of something. Like this is it's an example.
For saying that I don't control for the bottom 99% of every single streamer on the platform and every single dollar they've ever made while streaming. But then he's gonna come to me with some weird anecdote like I remember that Hannah, Stacy, Shelby, Lindsay, Haley, and Grace all were able to get easy dubs, and I didn't ask anybody, and the black girl didn't ask anybody, and the Muslim girl didn't ask anybody, and the guys talked to them. What sort of lefty would deny this? Like, bro, what are you talking about, man? What are you talking about, man? Here's one thing, okay? I will say that when it comes to interpersonal situations, women do get a leg up. That is true. For one, being socialized, and two, being seen as more more amicable, less mean, less harsh, right? Than men do, just generally. Like, there's a big reason why a lot of like service workers are why women who are service workers get a better response when it comes to how they're like seen, especially when it comes to like giving poor information and stuff like that to like to somebody than men do. But also there's like once again there's a double-edged sword there, buddy. Remember, there's a double every time you cut somebody, you're going to cut yourself. Women are also seen as weaker and more of a pushover, right? Here's a really wild thing, okay, is that when companies found out, and it's a really big thing with when it comes to like Alexa and Siri.
He's going off into some completely irrelevant bullcrap. No, I'm done. This is
and Bixby and Google Voice and all of those other like little like AI voice programs that you have.
Very real.
You may have experienced something really strange. Is that they're all women just permanently, and you can't change that, or they're all default women. Okay, weird how that works out, right? And so the thing is, people are more likely to be rude, mean, disrespectful, racist, ableist, and sexist to those female sounding voices than they are for men voices. Like if you didn't know this, it was wild thing, we didn't go over it. But what happened?
Sass. He's not adding nuance. He's talking about something completely different. He's just doing whataboutisms. That's it. That's all he's doing. It's just whataboutisms over and over and over and over and over. That's all he's doing. This is not relevant. This is not this doesn't deny the other person's point. He already agreed with their point. After pretending like he disagreed with it, then went on to agree with it, and then now is talking about something completely different that's not relevant whatsoever. It is whataboutism. It is. That's all it is. He's not talking. He is pointing out that it's not that simple. It doesn't matter. Nobody freaking cares. He can just say, but it's not that simple. There are bad things that come with this too. Nobody's going to disagree with that. Like, you guys are the freaking people screaming that white people have problems too. So don't talk about systemic racism. If you want to talk about systemic racism, you got to keep talking about the fact that there are white people in trailers. You have to keep talking about it all the time. Keep saying over and over that there are poor white people. White people have problems too. White people also can't get a job sometimes. Sometimes white people can't get a bank loan as well. Sometimes not all white people are billionaires. Not all white people are CEOs. Like, that I have to go over all of this every time I talk about systemic racism, right? I have to add the nuance of it, right? That's what I got to do. I got to add all the nuance. When really I'm just adding in a bunch of whataboutisms so that I can make the white people feel better. But that's it. When we're talking about a specific problem, we're just talking about this specific problem. We don't have to go through a million other things that don't actually apply to the problem. Stop ignoring how people use this to crap on women. Stop telling me to stop ignoring things that I'm not ignoring. It's just not relevant. It's just not relevant in any way whatsoever. It's not relevant. Yes, Sass is going off. It's not relevant. It's not nuance. It's just retarded. That's all it is. It's just retarded. It's stupid. He is being blatantly bad faith and acting like a freaking nutcase. This is stupid, is what it is. This is dumb. This is freaking child stuff, okay? This is for little whiny baby kids who can't acknowledge a truth. This is for little crybabies who are feeling left out of the oppression Olympics. And so they want to keep making sure that we add in all of their problems. If we're going to talk about something good that they get, well, we got to talk about the bad stuff that they get too. Got to do it. Now, when we're talking about men, we're talking about the patriarchy. We're not going to keep adding in all of the problems that come with that. No, we're not going to do that because that's not nuance. That's no. But if we're talking about women, now we need nuance. Now we need to keep talking about the fact that there are problems and that they have this issue and that they have that issue. And everything's so hard and everything's so bad. That's what we got to do. We're not going to do that with anything else. Nothing else. We're not going to do that with freaking anything else ever. But if we want to talk about women's having a leg up in some specific small tiny areas. Now we gotta add in the nuance, right? We gotta add in all of the irrelevant information that has absolutely nothing to do with what it is we're talking about. Have nuance when you talk about men too. No, nobody does that. You literally said, you told me this, okay? You can't back off this now. You literally said the what about men guys were idiots and they should be made fun of. That is you. You are the person who should be made fun of. You are the person who's whining and complaining that we didn't acknowledge all of the bad parts too when we're talking about the good parts. That is you. That is you right now. And that is Shark. You guys want to make sure that we add in the whataboutisms. Tom, I know you think you're getting a dunk in, but you aren't. Damn. Defeated. My entire argument gone. Well done. Well done. Do I need to yell at you in VC? Sure. Yeah, let's do this. I wanted, there was a bunch of stuff after talking to BX earlier that I wanted to go back over. So I was trying, there were a couple of parts that like I felt like didn't actually make sense, but I don't know. I'll look at it later.
Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Say some stupid stuff.
Ugh. So frustrating because you're like, I'm gonna yell, blah blah blah, and I have to fucking just read and chat and try to reduce everything. You're so frustrating.
It's okay because I already know that I'm right and that you don't have an argument against me. So it's fine.
Okay. Well, I also loved how you like didn't really listen to all of Shark's video and you just kind of skimmed through it, and then you're like,
I already
"He's
listened to
simply
15
saying
minutes
this."
of bullcrap. I listened to 15 minutes of it.
Why does this trigger you so much?
Because
I
it's
don't
bad faith.
understand.
It's bad faith.
Is it?
Yes, it is. For the same reason that men doing this triggered all of the feminists. For the same exact reason.
Alexa.
Men doing what?
Whataboutisms. Or acting like you can't talk
But,
about women's issues without adding in all of the men's issues too. Like, it's dumb. You
But
can
see-
talk about one specific group of issues at a time. You don't have to add all of the caveats in every single time you talk about one set of issues.
Okay, but see what I'm saying, it's not the same as if we're already talking about women issues and then Shark's like, I'm going to expand on this and give some more nuance or whatever the fuck you want to call it, then I don't say that's a whataboutism. You're already talking about women and shit, and then he's just talking about some more layers and some more context to it instead of just saying guys like boobas and that's it. Like he's adding more to it.
No, he's
Versus,
not though.
like,
He's not. No. He's not.
why do you think that?
No, he's not.
Explain to
Because
me.
he's not just adding more to it. He is disagreeing with the original point, or he's never implicitly or explicitly agreeing or disagreeing with it. But he is implicitly disagreeing with it by only bringing up other factors and only bringing up all of these other points to kind of say, yeah, you're wrong though. He's only doing that. He is never acknowledging what it is that the person or the Destiny are saying in the video. He is never acknowledging that. He is only bringing up all of this other stuff. And he's not saying, yeah, sure, but he's not saying that. He's going, well, there's this problem and this problem and this problem and this problem. So he's only... Oh, it seems pretty obvious that he's just arguing with it and saying, well, this is incorrect because, right? When he brings up the list of the top 50 streamers, he's not bringing that up to say, oh, here's a completely irrelevant point that's not actually, that doesn't actually have anything to do with what we're saying. He brings that up to make it sound as though he's arguing against what they said.
But I watched the whole thing. I watched his whole video on this, and like I feel like he did acknowledge the stuff and then just added to it.
The whole time we've
'Cause,
been
like,
watching
it's
this, he
why
hasn't
I
acknowledged
get
anything.
you watch like the what first 5-10 minutes and then you skipped around.
No, we watched more than 15 minutes and then skipped around. We were watching it on 1.5 and then started skipping around because he first wasn't even acknowledging or responding to the things that were said in the video. And then like 10 minutes later is off still on this random rant that has nothing to do with what was being talked about. He's just going off on women's issues, and that's fine. I don't have a problem with people talking about women's issues, but if you're doing it in response to somebody talking about a problem, and then just not acknowledging it whatsoever, then yeah, like that's ridiculous. You're doing it
Well,
in comparison.
no, but like, what I've been saying in chat the whole time is if you're just saying like, okay, hot women get attention on Twitch, and that's all you're saying, like, okay, so what?
We've already been over this, though. You can keep asking that
Yeah, I know,
question,
but
and I will
like,
keep answering it over and over, and you will ignore it after I answer it.
so answer it again, because clearly I'm not fucking understanding the point of all this.
Generally, women are going to have that advantage more often than men.
Yes, and then Shark and other people are just saying, kinda, because they're just pointing out that it's not as simple as it's a great advantage win-win, everything's
No, duh.
hunky-dory.
That's the
They're
same thing.
pointing out,
If you're
yeah,
talking
so he's
about the
just
fact that,
pointing
like,
out that
oh,
it's not,
it's so great to be a millionaire. No, like, more money, more problems, right? Like, there's a lot of other things that come with this that are negatives as well. And rich people have problems in their lives as well. But we're not talking about that because it's not actually relevant to whether or not like, rich people having a
But
lot
it
of money
is
gives them a big disadvantage or a big advantage.
I don't care about CEOs, but it is relevant if you have, because that's why I scream at you, because I feel like you're ignoring it. It's like some people use this kind of just simple statement, but then they'll add on to it by like shaming women or blaming women. So it's kind of like, okay, I have to suss out what your actual, if you're just saying this for funsies, or like what is the intention, right?
Maybe.
So it's like because
hold
like
on.
most people, we can acknowledge pretty people get benefits. Cool, but then some people will say, hot women, it's all good. That's it. No other thing. Just it's as simple as that. And then other people will actually, these women get harassed, or there's other issues, or blah 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 blah. But then you can't just be like, that's whataboutism. It's like, well, no, it's putting in greater context, and it's not
They're
just
not,
simple
though.
as you got boobas, so you get tons of money and attention.
That's not
like,
relevant, though. It's not. It is not
relevant.
It isn't. It just isn't. It's not. It's not relevant. It's not even close to being relevant.
Why are you disconnecting that in your brain? I don't understand.
For the same reason, as I explained earlier, if we're talking about systemic racism and the problems that black people have, and somebody comes over and they're like, yeah, well, white people live in trailers. Like, they're not adding more context to this. They're not adding more nuance. They're just being ridiculous. It is exactly the same thing. It is exactly the same thing.
We're just talking about women issues. We're just talking about women.
No, you're not. No, you're not. No, you're not.
We're just talking about women streamers.
No, you're not.
We're just talking about women streamers right now.
No,
so stop comparing it to
don't
like
change
black and white
it.
issues.
No, don't change it. No,
you're the one
no,
who's changing
no,
it.
no, don't change it. It is, we are talking about men's issues, and you are changing it to let's talk about women's issues. That's what you're doing.
If you're talking about women Twitch streamers, and then you're giving more context to it, saying it's not just simple as that. Like, that's all I'm saying. Like,
that's fine. It can be not as simple as that, but nobody's saying that it is. But if all you talk about is the other side of it and you never acknowledge what it is that they're talking about, it seems pretty obvious that you're just arguing with this. If you refuse to acknowledge this part and then go off on a long tangent about other crap.
This is why, fuck. This is why it's so infuriating, because you're like, you're not acknowledging it. It's like most of like, I've acknowledged this for a while, so have a bunch of other lefties. So this is not new information that you're talking to me. So that's why I'm like, where the fuck's the prescriptions? Where is like your intentions? Where's like, let me know what the point is. That's why I'm reading about it, because it's
But I keep telling you the point, and you will keep doing that anyways. I can tell you over and over the point.
Because
I literally just told you the
so
point again just a minute ago, and you're still doing this anyways. The point does not matter to you, so stop pretending like it does.
Okay, so like if you're saying, I hear that you say like, okay, it's a problem. Okay, so what exactly is the problem? What are the solutions to the problem? Like, I'm not hearing any of that talk. I'm just hearing boobas get attention. Okay, women get advantages. Okay, but like, give me more than that. That's all I'm saying.
If people are having trouble just even acknowledging or talking about the problem in the first place,
I don't think
there's
it's a problem.
absolutely no reason to move past that to prescriptions. That's ridiculous.
No, you think that we are not acknowledging it, but we are.
When?
And like,
When? Nobody's acknowledged it. When? When did that happen?
we acknowledge it, and then since Shark has acknowledged it, but then we also give in the greater context, because
No, he didn't acknowledge it. Stop saying
perspective.
that. He did not acknowledge it.
Like, but this is so like, to me, this is like,
yes,
basic
but these are
shit.
the games that y'all play to avoid acknowledging these things. These are the games that you play to avoid men's issues. This is exactly what y'all do over and over and over, is anytime somebody wants to talk about just men's issues, well, no, we can't do that. We got to talk about women's issues. So let's bring this back to all of women's problems when they're just talking about a specific thing. You're like, no, can't do that. Got to talk about women's issues. And then he just talks about women's issues, and that's it. And then keep saying, "Oh, I'm a big fan of men's issues. I'm a huge fan of men's issues."
Tom, who are you fighting? You are fighting some mysterious like feminist that you have created in your mind. Shark literally has a podcast where he like talks about men's issues like all the fucking time.
Sass, you can't act like he's not arguing against this video. You can't. I'm sorry. You can't. He is over and over being pretty explicitly against what is being said in the video.
He's giving more context.
No, not giving more context. He is denying what the guy is saying. He's not giving more context. No, I'm not interpreting it. He is denying it. All right, I'm going to ask you again. I will ask you again. What is the point in bringing up the thing with the top 50 streamers? If he's not denying what they're saying, what is the point in bringing that up?
Well, because some people make the argument that, oh, it's so easy for women, they get lots of money and all this attention on Twitch, and he's just pointing out that.
Oh, so now he's arguing with some boogeyman.
No, there's actual people who fucking say this shit. So he's just pointing out the reality, which is, yes, there aren't that many women streamers, and yes, there, the few that are there, that exist on Twitch, aren't in the top 50 or whatever the thing is.
But it doesn't matter.
But then
that's not relevant.
But then you just say nothing. You just say it's not relevant. It's not relevant. Like,
because it's not.
Fucking thing. But that makes no sense.
It doesn't. No, it does. It's when we're talking about proportionalities. No, when we're talking. No. Stop adding more arguments on top of arguments. Okay. When we're talking about a proportionality, we're talking about percentages. We're talking about something being easier or harder in general areas. But if you just pick out the top 50, that doesn't help you any. That doesn't say anything. It's literally not relevant whatsoever.
This is. I just hate this because it's like, you should be able to say like, sure, there's advantages, but then what, you're not allowed to say like with those advantages comes some really bad stuff too, because you're going to be saying it's like it's not relevant.
He denied that those advantages exist. Okay?
He didn't.
Yes, he did. He did.
No, he didn't.
Explicitly denied it. He straight up said that those advantages do not exist. He did. It's not just the argument. He straight up said, no, I don't think that that's actually a thing.
Yeah, women streamers. He was saying like, no matter if you're hot or not, female streamers, they get their friends to watch them, so probably that's why they maybe get higher viewer count.
Yes, he starts to obfuscate. Yes.
Oh my god.
He is. He's coming up with different reasons. He's saying it's not because of their looks, it's because of all of these other things.
But he's just saying there's other things too that relate to like shit.
Like, why do good-looking streamers happen to be the ones who are getting all of their friends to watch and everybody else isn't doing that? Does that make sense that he would infer that?
No, he just said women.
Yeah.
Hot or not.
Yes.
Can get their friends to come.
But we're talking about the fact that he's talking about the fact that they are getting viewers easier. And we're talking about hot women getting viewers easier. This is the conversation. So yes, he is talking about hot women. And he's saying the reason that they get viewers easier is because, oh, they have friends. And that's all it is they just happen to have friends. Like, and they're able to get their friends on there, and they mod for them, and they help them out, and they run their Discords and all of this.
He didn't just... Why don't maybe you should like watch this fucking video all by yourself and then like calm down a bit and then actually listen to what he's saying.
I am the calm one. You were the one who's freaking out about this. He is
because
denying
it's so fucking stupid.
Don't say yeah. Don't say yeah. You just said the exact opposite of what I just said. Okay, so he is straight up denying what it is that I'm saying, what it is Destiny's saying, what it is that the emailer is saying.
He's saying yes, but
no, he's not. No, he's not. No, he's not.
Yes,
he straight up denies
Watch
it.
the whole video.
Sass, I'm telling you, I watched him at the beginning 100% deny this. Okay, he did.
Maybe you need to watch it again, and also all the bits that you missed.
I'm not going to watch him obfuscate for an hour. It's a 15-minute video, and he goes off on these long tangents that aren't relevant to the video.
They are relevant.
They're not.
They are relevant. They are.
They aren't.
See, you are so fucking confusing. You're like calling him reductive, but then he's not being reductive. He's trying to be like, there's more to this story than like boobas, and then but you're saying that's obfuscating. So it's like, what? Like, you just want him to just simply say, guys like boobas, and they watch them on Twitch. The end. Good night, folks.
No. I want him to say that first, and then go on to add on the other information, like I do. But he's not agreeing with the first part. He is denying the first part.
Okay. Well, that's what you think.
No, it's not what I think. He denied the first part.
You just heard him saying the but or the end, and then all his other points.
All right. I'm pulling it back up. Where is this?
Kent, you don't know what's going on.
Anyways, so my description, my title for the stream is a little riff. People were messaging out in here. I think he plays League. Okay.
Quite a super long schizo email for you today. How do you read this one? Because I circled through a lot in this one. But I also got some shit. Tabor and Melina. So hopefully that's rubbing in the wrong direction.
Can you not make it go so?
Wait, who's Tabor?
Make it go so fast.
I know Melina is his wife. Who's Tabor?
I find it hard.
Stay strong, Kane. You're the only one who is not a woman-hating incel, but still says the things that need to be said. Properly critique society. It's extremely important to have someone like that. Otherwise, the only places people will flock to are the red pill anti-women communities or the complete.
Oh, I can't listen to Destiny when he's that fast.
I just slowed it down, woman.
My wee
okay
lady brain.
Okay.
He's so fast normally.
Okay. All right. Quiet.
Yes, finally, the true enlightened centrist. The true enlightened centrist, he's here. Most normal D. No, okay, listen. I do think a lot. I'm seeing it recently, which is really good, that a lot of the left is starting to care more about men's issues and tackle them in a much better way. I'm very happy about that, because when I got into the space, men's issues were a big thing for me. And I want to see more of it. It's just unfortunate. You got to break through a lot of stuff, but you know, it just kind of be that way.
He links my tweet about the OnlyFans girls or whatever. This Twitter interaction is what I'm talking.
Why you block his face? Because I'm not moving my damn camera for this 18-minute video. He looks like he's gonna whip. Okay, I don't think okay. I can't believe this. I've been slurred.
Twitter interaction.
Middle of my name. Everybody does that, right? It's Dylan's fault. Dylan, if you watch this, me Shark3oZero, and like straight up, like, the heck, he misgendered me. Just call me Shark. Who else is named Shark in this space? Who hate me? You guys hate me. I should just give up freaking streaming. I'm not gonna lie to you. I should just all I get is abuse. All I get is abuse.
Just copy pasted dialogue tree talking points.
One of the stupidest copy paste dialogue tree talking points. I'm sorry, one of the biggest YouTuber streamers are the goofiest, lamest looking dudes I've ever seen. They all look like they fell out of a Dr. Seuss book and got bullied in band class by the woodwind section. Girls on Twitch are less paid, less respected, and less watched. Now
That tweet is him saying, if good-looking people are doing so well, why do all of the top streamers on Twitch all look like idiots? Why do they all look like nerds? And then he goes on to say, women are less paid, less respected, and less watched. So he is trying to contradict what it is that this video is talking about.
He's pushing back on the simple idea that, oh, woman hot with big booba, she gets all of the monies and all of the views. And he's like, well, actually, if you look into it more, hence his tweet.
But no, then he'd be wrong. Being good looking and showing a lot of booba on stream does get you a lot of viewers.
It gets you some viewers, yeah. No one is saying they get 0 viewers, but
right, it doesn't get as much as like being you know, some champion in a video game or something like that. Sure, but it gets you a lot of viewers.
But I don't think. But this is exhausting.
It's exhausting because he is blatantly saying things and you are denying it. That is what's exhausting about this. You have to try and play mental gymnastics to justify this in some way. Yeah, Belle Delphine literally sold bathwater. Like, what guys are out there selling bathwater? Like, show me the guys doing this.
But I don't think I'm not being bad faith, and I'm not thinking Shark is that stupid to like not know that that's a thing.
I agree.
And that Belle Delphine isn't a thing.
I agree. He is being defensive.
He's pushing back. Yeah, because it's
and that's making him wrong. He is blinded by trying to be defensive against incels, against like MRAs, against these sorts of people. And so he hears a narrative and his immediately, you know, the trigger goes off. Oh, wait, these are the bad things. So I have to now go off and say all of the other things.
But like, oh my god, this is so frustrating. But to act, a lot of times when guys say that, they're just like either shitting on women or ignoring, like, yes, they get 2,000, like, Cute Root or whatever her name is, Cutebot, like, gets a lot of viewers, but on the big scheme of things, there's not a lot of women on Twitch. The few that are on there aren't, you know, in the top 50, but you're just going to say it's not relevant.
It's not.
So, like, this idea that there's just a ton of boobies ladies taking over Twitch and how this is a huge problem when really it's not. And that these women, like, it's not just this simple thing. See, that's why I'm like, I need prescriptions. I need to know what your intention is when you say something like that. When you say that women have it so easy.
You don't.
That I'm like, what?
You don't need to know their intention.
I'd like to know.
Yeah, you might like to know, but
if you want to shit on women or not.
Yeah, but that's not relevant. This is what makes the left look bad so often, and this is what I was talking about earlier, that people are so gung-ho to fight against some narrative that they don't even know whether or not the narrative exists yet, and they're already arguing against it, and it makes them look like freaking crazy people. Like, there have literally been times where I've been called a Nazi because I said I was just asking questions about an economic thing. But because I said the word just asking questions, people started saying that I was a freaking Nazi in a chat one time. Like, this is something that leftists do, where, like, they hear the words and they're like, oh, that's the bad words. Now we got to go. Like, time to fight. Like, and it's really frustrating because they will deny obvious facts of the world in order to do so.
We're not denying obvious facts.
We just went over this. Shark did.
Yeah, and then
Shark
you also
did.
called... why don't you talk to fucking Shark then? Maybe he can clarify it better for you.
I'm not arguing against Shark right now. Right now I'm arguing against you. I'm trying to find what percentage of Twitch streamers are female. But it only shows me Twitch users or then the top, like, earners.
So are you gonna, like, go into why it's a problem and your solutions to it at all? Or you're just gonna say booba streamers?
Like,
you cannot make this better.
a lot of times, like, it's just like acknowledging that the problem exists in the first place.
What's the problem? What's the problem, Tom?
Again? Seriously? Again?
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
I'm not saying it again after this, okay? I'm saying this is the last time I'm saying this.
Okay.
Okay. It's that there is an advantage that women have disproportionately compared to men when it comes to growing an audience on Twitch based on looks alone. So when we're talking about, like, men having some jobs disproportionately to women, it's like these are things that we talk about a lot. It's not like we can come up with a solution outside of, like, let's, force women into these positions, whether they're ready for them or not. Like, there's not really solutions to that. Like, if we're talking about STEM field, like, we can't, like, force women to go into STEM, right? Like, there's not, like, a good solution to this. But acknowledging the problem exists in the first place normally it should be able to sort itself out over time. And so it's the same with these. Like, we're not going to force everybody to go watch some dude sit there with his shirt off, talking to the audience and not, like, in a hot tub. Like, we're not going to do that. That's not helpful.
Okay, so can we peel back the onion a little bit? Okay, so why is that? Why do women have that advantage?
No, you're trying to turn this around. I'm not doing it.
I'm not trying
not
to
doing
turn it around. I'm like,
You
okay,
are.
if we agree that this is a thing that happens, let's peel it back a little bit more on the why. So why is that? Right?
No.
You gotta ask the why is that. If you're saying this is a problem, okay, so let's get to the root of why this is actually occurring. Why can women use their looks to get more views versus men?
I guess
Why that's
it's only going
incredibly
to show
relevant.
me.
Let's if this is a problem.
It's only going to show me users. This is really frustrating because it doesn't tell me streamers. And I guess it's like hard to tell because just by creating a Twitch account, you automatically have a channel. But in just having a channel doesn't mean that you actually stream. And when it comes to earners, that's the only way that they can know is if you're like affiliate or above, is if you're making money. So it has to be earners of some sort, but they're only going to show me like the top earners. They're not going to show me like what percentage of earners are male versus female. This is the really frustrating part is like
So you're not going to
35% of
entertain me?
streamers are not women.
So you're not going to peel that onion with me?
No.
Why not? I thought,
Because I
why
already
not?
did it.
No, you didn't peel that onion
Yes.
on the why. Because that matters.
Why does
You
it
just don't
matter?
want to say patriarchy. That's why.
Well, no, because you're trying to turn
Why
it
does
around.
matter?
You're trying to turn it around.
I'm not trying to turn it
You
around.
are.
I'm like, if
You
we are
want
both agreeing,
you want me to say
then
patriarchy so that you can turn this around into like this is men's fault. So now y'all men got to go deal
it's
with
not
your
men's
problems.
fault. Stop it. Oh my god.
That's Sass. You have literally done that a million times. Okay, you have done that a million times where we talk about hot tub streamers and you start saying, "Oh yeah, well whose fault is that? Men objectify women, so they're just taking advantage of it." Like you do this all the time. So what are you talking about? You're not going to turn around and say it's men's fault. You always say it's men's fault.
I don't.
Yes,
and
you
I know
do.
that you love to make me be a second wave feminist, whatever the fuck you.
I don't
'cause
make
it's more
you a second wave
entertaining for you.
feminist. You just
No.
happen to be one.
No. You're not actually listening to what I'm saying because it's
am.
more fun for you to. No, you're not.
You have literally said those words. You have literally said, "That's on men. Tell them to go deal with their crap." When we were talking about hot tub streamers, you have literally said that. So you
didn't
can't
know.
deny that. Huh?
What the fuck?
What did you just say?
When did I say that?
When we were talking about hot tub streamers, you said that. I
Said that
distinctly
guys
remember
think
this.
they're hot?
No. Yes, because guys objectify women. Women are just taking advantage of the role that men are putting on them. And so it's like men need
It's
to
not
go.
just
And
men,
you said
it's
so
like
men
a
need to go
fucking
deal with their crap.
society that we live in.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah,
And it's not.
I feel like everyone should be able to objectify themselves if they want to.
Yes, it's not relevant.
It's like why am I here? If you're just like gonna pretend that I'm this crazy feminist. Like
I'm not pretending anything. I'm talking about your words. And you are
I didn't
literally
where's
you
the
are
fucking
literally
receipt, Tom?
you are literally right now trying to get into
I'm not-
patriarchy. So I don't want to hear it.
No,
You've already
I was
you are
joking, but also
No.
serious. But why are you so afraid of peeling back the onion of why do
I'm
we?
not afraid.
Why can?
It's not
Yes,
not
you are, because
important.
you're not even going into it with me about the actual why of it,
I don't
which
think
is
it
fucking insane.
I don't think it's important.
Thank you, Corlix. Tom is making me feel like I'm a crazy person.
It's not important.
It is important. Because
Why?
instead of just saying, "Oh, it's just the way it is," women, it's just like how women and men. This is just the way it is with nature. Because I'm Tom, I'm an essentialist. It's like no,
I'm not an essentialist. Also, the like earlier you were talking about like, oh, their intentions, they matter so much, blah blah blah. Okay, fine. If the
I want to know
intentions
if you're
matter
a
so much,
misogynist or not.
if the
Yes, I'd like
intentions
to
matter so
know.
much, then like the intentions are to just get people to acknowledge that this is a problem. And if you go watch Destiny's video, the emailer makes it explicitly clear that his problem is that people on the left refuse to even admit that this is a problem. This is what he's talking about. And the fact that when he talks about things like that, or people talk about the things that they talk about, everybody will immediately start doing the whataboutisms and go to the other side and say, well, let's talk about all of these other problems instead. Let's take it to all of this other freaking crap that's not actually relevant to what it is you're bringing up right now. That is, he could have scripted all of your responses by himself. Like, even, and it is like oppression Olympics crap, where even we try to like talk about one simple small thing that only exists in small areas of life, and still they'll take it and say, yeah, but let's talk about the bad parts of it. It's like, no, we're not talking about the bad parts of it right now. We're just talking about this.
Oh my god, it's you just don't want to talk about how it's
I don't want to talk about irrelevant parts. You are correct.
that you consider is relevant. Like,
no, not that I consider. Don't say
yes,
that.
it's you. It's you.
No, because you can't explain how it's relevant outside of a whataboutism.
Cause you think it's again, we're just looping. It's like you think it's what
here
about
it
us?
is.
Cool.
15.6% of Twitch streamers are female. Okay, we got it. Compared to 50.4% of general population. Inside the top 500, most followed, less than 10% are women. On average, a woman's concurrent viewership is 394, is much lower than a man's at 1,492, based on average concurrent. So wait, they're only looking at the top 500. I was about to say average viewers are like, I think they're like 10 for Twitch. So I was about to say there's no way that average viewers at 1,492, they have to only be looking at the top 500.
See, this is just stupid. Cause I feel like
So no, Zoa. So Zoa said, in terms of growing an audience on Twitch based solely on looks, women have an advantage compared to men. That's what Zola just said.
Okay, who are you fighting? Who the fuck are you fighting?
You, because you
will
not talk about that. You want to talk about all of the other irrelevant things.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's because that's the relevant bit.
No, it's not. That's the whole point, is that you don't think that the part where we talk about the problem is relevant. You want to talk about all of the other things.
You can't even like go down to what the actual fucking problem is.
I did.
So
I did explain the problem.
I asked you to pull back that onion on the why, and you won't go there with me.
Yes, because it's not relevant.
Because it is relevant if there's a problem. So why is it a problem? Why is it like this? Why are we not having that better conversation besides you pretending that I can't see the basic reality of the world, and that like we both agree that in the world society we live in, that women can use their looks.
That's not what we're arguing about. We're arguing about the fact that one, just bringing it up automatically triggers a bunch of people to start arguing irrelevant facts. Two, the fact that Shark3oZero
facts.
literally just did this, where he goes off literally for like, we watched for like 15 minutes. 2 minutes of it was him playing the video, and then the rest of it was him not acknowledging what the video said was true and just giving a bunch of alternative information. That's all he did. That's it. And then we skipped through, and he did that a couple more times. That's all he did. At no point was he like, yeah, true, but that didn't happen. Okay? All he did was give the counter arguments to it, and that was it.
So you're assuming he doesn't acknowledge it at
No,
all?
again,
just like
Sass,
wait,
Sass,
stop,
no,
stop.
no, because
No.
you're already wrong. No, I've already said this. I think that he knows that these things are true.
Well, I will rewatch the fucking video and I will send you the timestamps.
Okay.
Then, if you're not going to, or you can just try and talk to him, because this is such a silly conversation. Because it's like, I feel like if we both acknowledge this is an issue, but then I feel like we do, but then you're like, no, because you're not acknowledging it. But it's like, okay, no, but like, I want to get
I would
into
do
like
the same
meat
thing
of it.
with anybody else in any other issue that I'm talking about. If I'm talking about women's issues and somebody comes in here and starts talking about how hard men have it, I would tell them to shut the hell up too. If I'm talking about systemic racism and people come in and start talking about how hard white people have it, I tell them to shut the hell up too. It's the same all the way around. It's the same for everything else.
I just would like to be able to say yes, but, or yes, and, if we're talking about these certain issues, because I think we can all agree it's not that simple, right?
And that's fine. But if all you guys
But no, it's
talk
not
about
fine,
is
'cause
the
then
other
you
side,
just say fucking
that's
whataboutism.
not what Shark did, Sass. Stop. You can keep moving on past that, but that's not what he did.
This is so stupid. Or I'm gonna rewatch it because, like, I feel like as a Shark is on the left side of things, so as a fellow lefty, I'm just was like, yeah, this is, we all acknowledge this is a thing, and so if he's just concentrating more on the end or the butt part of it, like, I'm not gonna be as triggered as fucking you are because he's not taking 20 minutes to say the obvious thing is obvious.
If you wrote an email to Vosh, okay, you write an email about how it's really frustrating that every time you talk about women's issues, everybody just wants to bring up what about men, and then they just start talking about men's issues and go off on long lists of problems that men have. Every time you just bring up like simple facts of the world that women have to deal with, every single time women, Sass, quiet. Every time people go off on a list of men's issues, and you actually say like, and this is what they say, and this is what they do, and blah blah blah, right? You write this big long email, and you're talking about the fact that people are just refusing to have that conversation or even acknowledge these things, that they get so triggered and they get so defensive about it that they immediately start going to counter arguments, even if it's obviously true and they should obviously agree with it. They end up looking bad because they refuse to acknowledge those simple truths first. You literally write a big long email explaining that simply, and then everybody who reviews that video does exactly what it is that you're complaining about in the email. I think you would see this very differently.
Um, I don't know. Again, just I don't see it as whataboutism. It's just adding more context.
If they acknowledged it
Like, I don't know.
first, then you would be correct.
But you don't think he did. So
I
maybe
know
you should
he
watch
didn't.
it.
I remember skipping through and seeing him doing other parts. This in other parts. Once you mentioned what was the other part? The girl's friends, like helping her, modding for her and stuff like that. Like I did skip through a bunch of parts and saw he was doing this forever. Like that's all he did the whole
Watch
video.
the whole thing and then talk to me.
And then
How about that?
even if he did, let's say he did. Let's say that he did say, yeah, but, and then spent 95% of the video talking about the other side, and only 5% was watching that video and then saying, yeah, but, and then the other 95% is him just explaining the other side. It would still prove the point. It would still make the point just as well. So even if I do go back and you are correct, it still doesn't change the fact that the rest of the freaking video is him just talking about the other side.
See, like, what I am confused about is you're like, we need to acknowledge the problem, but then when it's like expanding on the problem, you're like, no.
Because you're not. You're talking about the other side.
Because you think it's not relevant, which my brain goes, burr.
Again, you're talking about the other side of things. So you're not explaining more about the problem. So if we're talking about the fact that women are gaining more viewers more easily in general than men are, and you come back with, yeah, but they have this problem, this problem, this problem, and this problem, you are not expounding on the problem. You are not giving more information to the problem.
Neither are you, Tom.
Sass,
You're
stop.
not even doing
Sass,
that either.
Stop. You are giving combative information to the problem. You are giving other things to say it's not what you think it is, because we have all of these other bad things. That is what you're doing. And it's not, the other bad things are not relevant.
Fuck. It is relevant.
It's not.
You're not stupid, so I don't know why.
Okay, if I'm talking about systemic racism and I start bringing up the fact that Obama was president, do you think that's relevant?
Say that again.
If we're talking about systemic racism and I start talking about the fact that we had a black president, do you think this is relevant? Do you think I'm adding more information? I'm adding nuance to this conversation?
That's not analogous.
That's 100% analogous. It is. Yes, it is. Explain how it's not analogous then.
Because are you doing the classic oh, racism is over because we have a black president, or you had one,
Oh, so there's an implication in bringing up facts from just the other side, right? That's what you're saying. It's crazy. Who would have thought?
Tom.
Normally when I talk about these things, I try to talk about both sides so that I make all of those caveats. So I don't have a problem with talking about both sides. I don't have any issue with that.
No,
that's what I do.
Okay, but what's frustrating is we need to have these fucking nuanced, layered conversations we're talking about, not just women. Hey, I'm a crazy feminist, but when we're talking about men's issues, right? Where it's when you talk about, like
It's not adding
how
nuance.
society thinks like what?
It's not adding nuance. You can keep saying that over and over,
Hey, wait,
but
let me
we've been
finish. Let
over
me
the fact
finish
that
my
it's not
point.
adding nuance.
Let me finish my point. Oh my god. Is like if we're talking about how like society says like masculinity and being strong and dominant, how that's a strength. And then but in that conversation we also talk about like how that could be a negative thing for men and all the negatives to that, right? There's advantages but also disadvantages because then men who are maybe not as strong think, oh, I'm not that masculine. But like, and how that's all bullshit, and how being dominant, like you think, oh, this is pretty sweet, I gotta be on top, but actually, like, you're maybe shutting down your emotional parts side of you because you want to be dominant, and how that's bad. So we talk about how the like the good and bad of that. When you're talking about saying like an advantage for women, you do the same thing. You talk about how this could be an advantage, but then actually there's some downsides as well, and it could actually be hurtful because the whole point is like
If that is if you are adding those in as side notes, then of course, yes,
but that's like the whole
as
conversation. It's
caveats.
just a side note. It's like that's
No,
the whole fucking conversation.
it's not.
It is.
It's not. If you're talking about the fact that there are problems for men, and then the rest of what you end up talking about is actually the problems for women, then no, you are not just making like a caveat. You're not just like adding in nuance. You are changing the entire topic completely.
Wait, stop. So you saying that the issue that like women have an advantage over men, so then, and because they're talking more about women issues, you want them to talk about, because in your view this is a problem for men, that women can just look hot and get more numbers. So you want the conversation to be more about men. Is this is what I'm hearing?
Yes.
All right.
Yes. I'm saying that you are the person who comes in and says, what about men? When we're talking about feminist issues, you say, what about men? And then just only talk about men's issues from then on out. So if his 95% of his video is him just talking about women's issues without actually acknowledging the men's issues, or even let's say he does acknowledge them, but it's only a yeah, but, and then just long lists of women's issues, then yeah, like it's more combative than anything else. It's only saying, oh, well, it's minimizing it. It's saying it's not as bad as you think it is, or it's saying that actually like this problem doesn't really exist. And that is what he was doing with the very first topic, where he starts going through the top 50 streamers to say this problem doesn't really exist. And then he starts making up excuses for why women build audiences more easily, and starts talking about maybe they have friends who help them and mod for them.
Oh god, you're so annoying.
I'm not. You're just refusing to acknowledge this.
Tom.
I'm telling you, it is that simple, and you're being so defensive about this. I go read through the chat. They've all re-explained it like 100 more times in different words than what I'm giving. Like it is very simple, and anybody would do the same thing in every other issue, but for some reason when it comes to this issue, people can't do it. They can't just like have that conversation.
Because like it's complicated, and
all of the issues are complicated, but again, we only accept this when it comes to these issues.
No, but
yes?
like okay, you said it, so it's true.
It's not because I said it. I've given the explanations. I've thoroughly explained these things over and over. So no, it's not just because I said it. It's true.
But like, but I feel like which I already fucking said, is like Shark was pushing back to there is this narrative of like, oh, they have it so easy, and then shit on women. Obviously, not all men do this, but I feel like Shark was part of his video was doing just that.
Yes, he was being defensive.
Because why? Because that kind of narrative exists a lot, because sexism is a thing still. So,
But again, it's the same if I start talking about, like, yeah, women hating feminists, they do exist. So anytime
But,
you talk about feminism, I need to make 95% of it about men's issues.
but again, what's frustrating is like when I was trying to like get down to the why, which was not, you just assume I just want to like shit on men. Well, like, no, I want to like, why do women have this advantage and why can't men do this? Let's get into the meat of it. And you're like, no.
You're changing the topic when you do
I'm
that.
not changing the topic.
You
I'm
are.
just, you want to have that more nuance and talk about men's issues instead of just talking about women or whatever. This is how you do it. Let's
No, but that's not what
peel
we're
back
doing.
the onion on the why,
not
because
what we're
that's talking
doing.
about men and women. We're not just
We're not
talking
talking about
the
men's
boobas.
issues right now.
But isn't that what your point is? You want to?
Yes, the point is that not that I want to, that I want people to stop doing the whataboutisms that they wouldn't accept for any other topic.
It's like when we're talking about this issue, it's like all about it. It's like everyone's included in this topic, men and women. It's
yeah,
not
sure.
just women
And that's
issue.
the
It's
same
not
with
just a
most
man
women's
issue.
issues as well. But like that's not the point, and that's not the point. Like I'm not saying that
Yes,
it's like
Corlix, intersectionality.
when I say that it's like men's issues, I'm not saying like this is only for men. Like that's not what I'm. That's not what I'm saying.
Maybe. All the size.
Okay, so we got, what was it? 15% of streamers are women. Okay, then wait.
Are you gonna reach out to Shark or no?
Hold on. So yeah, according to this, typically when looking at channels in the same category with the same concurrent viewership, female streamers will typically have more followers than the male streamers. It's hard to like actually like figure out how to categorize this, because you can't look at all streamers, because lots of streamers never stream. They'll stream like a couple of times a year. So you can't look at 100% of streamers. But I guess you could look at like affiliate up, but I don't know how to search that. I don't know how to word that for a search. But I want to know like, like concurrent viewer counts for, for male versus female streamers. I guess, like, I can't think of another way of doing it outside of the way that this one did it, where they say same concurrent viewers, same category, more followers.
So what did you think of that original tweet that Destiny made to that lady streamer?
What are you talking about?
So at the beginning of the video, Shark was responding to what Destiny tweet that he had with that female lady streamer. She was just on Twitter, and then he just randomly was like,
she said, "Why are you single?"
Yeah, that.
Bold of you to assume me gaming for 14 hours a day and literally never doing anything else is attractive to someone. Wait, what? Bold of you
And
to
then-
assume me gaming for 14 hours a day and literally never doing anything else is What? You mean isn't attractive to someone?
And then Destiny just randomly
He
responded
said,
to her.
if a moderately attractive girl I had to live life at, or wait, if a moderately attractive girl had to live life as an attractive man, I think they'd kill themselves in like 2 weeks tops from lack of attention. She said, yeah, OMG, probably imagine being a man. He said, yeah, I can imagine your first day. Wait, what do you mean I can't just take pics of myself and post them online and call it work? True. True. I think it's a base tweet.
Of course you do.
I mean, you've seen my my Instagram feed. It like the fact that like men can do these things too is true, but they can't do it on the same level. They can't do it nearly as often. And they're almost never going to gain like the same following that women do.
It's different. Like
It's
have
not
you seen
it is different. Like there's a ton.
there
there's,
might be like the guys won't be posting like in speedos, but like I follow a lot of attractive males on Instagram, and so do a lot of women because they look cute.
But you know it's less common. Like there are tons of women that I literally only
mean?
follow because I see their profile pic or something like that. I think they're attractive and I just hit the follow button. That's not nearly as common for women. It's just not.
Okay, so again, can we discuss why that is? Or no?
Hold on.
Isn't that the more fun conversation to have? And then Tom leaves me. Well, chat, I hope you're having fun. This is a great night.
Okay. I'm grabbing the other vape pen. Now we can
This is the
now we can get deep into it.
yeah. Go through all those layers. I wish I had a vape pen. Yeah, Corlix, Tom is a stubborn son of a bitch. And he doesn't want to have the fun conversation I want to have.
Why are you saying Tom isn't moving, Corlix? The problem is that I've had the same argument the whole time, and she's changed her argument to 10 different things. Why would you say Tom's not moving? Why would that make sense?
He is a ghost. Oh, that makes things way more interesting.
Okay. All right. What do you want to talk about?
The why.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, so if we're like, we all acknowledge that women can use their sexuality as an advantage. So if we're like wondering why that is, I'm gonna try. It's really hard to explain this without talking about the patriarchy. But yeah, little patriarchy.
Mm-hmm.
So why I get so upset is like I know it's a lame phrase, but it's like don't hate the player, hate the game. Well, the game is patriarchy. So what makes me uncomfy is when I feel like all this like if it feels like people are shitting on women then it's like we should be hating the game, not like.
But they're not
This is the way
crapping
it
on
is.
women. They're just acknowledging a problem. So it's just like how normal it
Well,
is for
you
you
were
to say,
crapping on a little bit.
hold on. No, I wasn't. It's just like how
You said
normal
they
it
had
is.
no skills.
I said that that they're not what is it, commodifying
They're
their
just
skills. Yes, they're commodifying their or monetizing their bodies. And I'm not saying I literally said that there's nothing wrong with that. Like I don't know why you would say that I'm hating on them. I'm acknowledging a fact. And the thing is that like literally the way that you feel about this with me just saying that you feel like I'm hating on women is exactly how guys felt when anytime somebody just said the word patriarchy. Like just saying that automatically feels like you're crapping on them.
What word should I use, Tom?
I'm not saying don't use it. Because I don't deny that exists, right? But I'm saying that the same way you get defensive about these things is the same way that guys were getting defensive about feminism.
But but I guess like I'm coming from places like we all know slut shaming is a thing, right? So it's like a weird thing where it's like, yes, these women can make bank. They can like start an OnlyFans. They can get guys like you, Tom, to follow them on Instagram. But like, it's not. That's why it's like we got to have like some nuance, right? Like they also probably get really awful stuff in their DMs.
It's not relevant.
And is relevant.
It's not, because we're only talking about the monetary part. This would be the same if you guys are talking about like how much it's like how easy it is to be rich, and then somebody's like, you know, bringing up all of the problems that rich people have. Like that's not relevant. We're talking about money. We're not talking about like whether or not they have problems. We're saying it's great that they have a lot of money. That part is really easy.
But like I said before, it's like if we're talking about these advantages and disadvantages, we should talk about it more in a nuanced way. Like I said before, how it's like, yes, this is a strength for men, but it's also there's negatives that go along with it. And we should talk about both the good and the bad and not just act like it's all good. Because I think that's disingenuous to do that. That's all.
In some ways, but like it just kind of depends. Like there's nothing wrong with talking about the fact that these people have problems too, if that's relevant. If somebody's bringing up like just the good things and then acting like it's all good and that these people don't have problems at all, then sure, like of course it makes a lot of sense for you to argue against that. But if all they're doing is just like acknowledging a problem exists and then you go off about the other side of things, then yeah, no, not so much.
So you agree with me?
No, I'm saying it doesn't make sense to bring it up.
Why?
I just explained it.
No, but my brain is like that. It's so silly.
It's
It's
like,
like, let's
I brought
talk
this up a
about it
million
all.
times. Like
I keep bringing it up.
if I'm talking about systemic racism, I don't want somebody to come up and
No,
start
but it's
talking about the fact that
related.
Obama was black.
It's related.
That
though.
is
Like, if we're
too. If you're talking
No,
about
but
how
if we're
bad black people have it, then talk about all the good ways that they have it too.
No, but
Talk
if we're
about the fact
talking-
that they're in the NFL and the NBA and that they're all the rappers and that Obama was black. Like talk about those too.
No, but we're talking about like a very specific thing. Like if we're saying this specific advantage,
Yes, in systemic
in this
racism,
case-
that's the same.
no.
Yes, it is.
But like
Obama is
But
black.
when
He is
no, but
relevant
when
to
you're
systemic racism.
stop. But when you're saying that, like, that is
Uh-huh.
not the same.
It is the same, but
It's
it's
not.
a
I know in your brain you're like, I'm the very smartest, but
at some
if we're
point you would
talk-
have you can't just keep saying it's not the same. At some point you have to actually explain how it's different, and you can't because they are the same.
because when you're giving those examples, like when I'm talking about the advantages of hot lady streamers, and then when I talk about the advantages and the disadvantages, we're on the same topic.
If Obama
in
was
the
president,
same-
that's still on topic with systemic racism.
Is it?
Yes, he's black.
Yeah?
They're talking about how good black people have it. So same with like adding in like the NFL, the NBA, like there are advantages that come with being black. So if you want to talk about systemic racism and talk about the negatives that come with being black, then you also got to talk about the positives that come with it if you actually want to have a nuanced conversation about systemic racism.
You're such a tit. But I don't understand why.
I know you don't understand that this is my issue.
No, oh
Is-
fuck, I do understand, but I think it's stupid.
But you don't think it's stupid when it's on the other side. Like when it's all of these other
No,
things
because I
that we
think
talk
when
about,
I think it's
you will.
relevant, yeah. But
Yes,
you don't think
but
it's relevant.
no, but that's the
only
point.
thing.
Yes, no, that Sass, that is the point. Is that it like you think it's relevant because of your biases in this on this subject. Because you get
And
defensive.
you don't have biases. Yeah, sure.
I'm not
okay.
saying I don't have biases. I'm talking about the fact that you're getting defensive on this subject. And so you can't see that you are the person saying Obama's black when we're talking about systemic racism, like, or that Obama was president. That
No, because
that you are.
that's
Hold
what
on,
you think,
hold on,
Tom. Don't
hold
stop
on,
acting like that's
hold
what
on.
you're saying. It's just a fucking fact. It's really
It-
frustrating.
at some point, you would have to explain how it's different, and you can't because it is the same, Sass. And I'm gonna keep going back to it too, until you can explain how it is different. Which again, you can't. I'm gonna keep bringing it up. You are that person. It is the same as somebody saying you have to bring up the fact that that they can get in the NFL easier. They can get into the NBA easier. They can become rappers easier. Like you are saying the same thing. You're saying, hey, there's this other side to it though that you're not considering, and so you need to make sure that you consider all of the advantages with being black. Like that.
No, but wait, stop. So it'd be like saying, if I was saying there's so many advantages to being black, and then you're like, well, yeah, but there's also a lot of bad things that go along with racism, and then you point out the bad things. You wouldn't be like, that's some whataboutism and not relevant. And it's like, but
No, I
it
definitely
is.
would. If you're
I
just
think-
talking about the advantages of
that-
being black, yes, if I started saying like, what? No, but systemic racism, yes, that would definitely be the same thing for sure.
See, I think what I just said makes more sense
How?
than your Obama thing. Because it's equivalent to like saying there's advantages. If you're saying there's advantages to being a black person and there's advantages to being a hot woman, okay, and then someone comes along and says, well, actually, there's racism and some bad things about being a black person that you should consider, and that's relevant. You'd be like, you should be open to hearing that, along with if someone went along and was like, yeah, there's advantages to being a hot woman, but there's also some disadvantages that goes along with that. You should just be like, cool, I'm open to hearing in both scenarios. You should be not just dismissing it as irrelevant and be open to hearing the complexity of it. That's it.
So you would feel the same if somebody was talking about systemic racism and the other person comes up and starts wanting to add in the NBA and the NFL and being a rapper.
use
you
my
No,
thing,
hold on.
Tom.
You-
It makes more sense
What do you mean use your thing? You just
that they're talking about advantages of being a
Yes.
black person.
Yeah, that's what I said.
And then someone came up and talked about systemic racism. I would be like,
No. It doesn't.
yes,
No,
systemic racism is a thing, and
because
we should
it
also talk about it because it's relevant.
but it's not. Why do you only think it's relevant on one side of things, but not the other? That's my whole point, is the sides that you're more biased towards, those are the sides that you're agreeing with. And you're saying it's relevant when it's on my side. So if I'm the one who walks up and starts talking about systemic racism, now it's okay because this is my side doing it. But when I flip it around, you obviously can see that that's not relevant and that that's not an okay thing to do.
What? But didn't I just say that if in a different scenario, if they're talking about the advantage of being a black person, and then someone was like, well, but what about these bad things? I'd
Yes,
be like,
we talked about it, and I said that would be messed up if somebody walked up and started saying, yes, if you're just talking about the advantages of being black, and somebody just comes up and starts talking about systemic racism instead, yes, that would be messed up to do. That's a messed up thing.
why would that be messed up?
Because it's not relevant.
Why do you think it's not relevant?
Because it's not. It's not relevant to the advantages of being black. We're talking about the advantages of being a streamer. The disadvantages are not relevant. It's a completely different subject. It's a completely different, categorization of what we're talking about.
But if you were talking about a specific advantage for a black person, and then someone said, well, that specific advantage has like a double sword to it, and there's actually some bad sides to that specific advantage. Like, isn't that just giving more context?
No. It's not. You can keep like trying to reword things, but in the end, it's not the same subject. You're talking about something completely different. And you're only doing it because you're defensive. Like you're only trying to add that into the conversation because you're getting defensive. So if somebody's talking about the advantages of being black and somebody immediately comes over and starts talking about systemic racism, yes, they are being uber defensive. And
the equivalent would be them saying that specific advantage of being black has some downsides or some negative sides to it. Like it's not just all.
That's what I said. I said if somebody's talking about the advantages of being black and you walk up and start talking about systemic racism, that you are talking about something that's irrelevant. That's what I said.
In a more broad sense, that's what you said.
What do you mean? No, that's specifically what I said. What do you mean in a more broad sense?
Well, when I said it, I was talking about a very specific example of an advantage, and you're like, and the downsides of that specific advantage, and you're just like, yeah, just like, general advantages and systemic racism.
I would assume when I say you go up and start talking about systemic racism, yeah, I would assume you're talking about specific disadvantages. You're not just walking up saying, but what about systemic racism? Like, yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry,
That doesn't-
Soloa. It's true. Tom loved to say things are not relevant. There should be I should make a new bingo card of Tom isms.
I don't know
He
how
likes
else
to
to
say that a lot.
explain it. I keep explaining the same thing and you're just not getting it. Or
And
you're
me
too
too,
defensive.
and you're not getting it either.
No, because you're not actually explaining how I'm wrong. You just keep flipping it around and it still works the same way every time. It's messed up if you start talking about the other side of things in a defensive way. It's always messed up.
It's in your mind, it's messed up.
No, it's messed up in your mind too. When I give you examples of people doing that on the other side of things, you obviously think it's messed up. You only think it's okay when it's when it's your side that's walking up and adding the nuance.
Well, is there an example where it would be your side?
Well, no, not my side, but like I
there-
said, the other side. So, like when I said, if somebody's talking about systemic racism and people walk up and start wanting I hate that I'm saying this for like the 10th time, that there's advantages to being black as well. That would be messed up. But you can see it when it's on the other side. Like you can see that's obviously messed up. So if it's on the side that you're on, like you're in favor of systemic racism, so you don't like that, or you're in favor of women's issues, so you have a specific side that you're okay with adding in context, but you're not okay with it when the other side does it.
Depends.
Depends on whether or not it's your side.
But it depends. See, you're like blanketingly saying all of it's just irrelevant. But me, I'm thinking more on like case by case, like
Yeah, whether or not it's your side.
relevancy. Don't say it like that.
It is. That's what it is. You can see that this is a messed up thing to do. You just only see it when it's not your side.
No, but like no. That's no.
This is getting ridiculous, Sass.
You're so silly.
I'm not. You're getting
you
ridiculous.
are equating. No, stop. Let me say my thing. If you're like equating, like if we're having a debate and talking about black issues, and some idiot was just like, they don't have it so bad. There was a black president. You're like, that's the exact same thing as like if we're talking about these very specific advantages of women, and you're pointing out like how it's not all an advantage. That's the exact same thing as this thing.
It is.
It's not.
How? How is it different? This is like the 10th time I've asked you this question. You're not going to answer it this time either. I don't know.
Because in my head, the fact that one black president doesn't mean that racism is over. So that statement is stupid. Versus
True. So do you think if somebody talks about the advantages of being black, and somebody comes up and talks about systemic racism, are they saying that those advantages don't exist then? No, of course not. Like, that's a straw man. No, that's not what people... Nobody thinks that's what's happening.
Wait, what?
The other side isn't trying to prove that the whole thing doesn't exist either. They're just giving the other side. So when I'm talking about them talking about saying there are advantages to being black, like being in the NBA, being in the NFL, being a rapper, them just mentioning that doesn't necessarily mean that systemic racism doesn't exist.
So, but your point is like that Shark isn't acknowledging it and just saying the bad parts. But then you're saying,
okay, this is completely different. But I don't want to make Zola's head explode, so I'm not.
I think we're making everyone's head explode.
Yeah.
Can you change it to arguing with a crazy, lovely feminist? Can you put like one redeeming thing in there?
Crazy what?
Crazy, lovely, or captivating feminist.
No.
Give me like a nice Say something nice about me, Tom.
Nope. It's crazy
Oh.
feminists.
You know you want to be nice to me.
Some random crazy feminist just jumped in my VC.
Random.
Yeah.
What? I thought I meant more to you, Tom, than just some random. How dare you?
All right. I'm tired now. I'm gonna go to sleep.
I wore you out?
Yeah.
Nice. Yep. That's how us feminists roll. We just and then we make the men collapse.
Yeah.
And then we win. That's how we beat the patriarchy.
Yeah.